everybody, welcome back to Angry Badger Minis, and we're still working on Krieg. As you guys, well, if you don't know this, it's a it's a process. Of course, you've got a lot of cleanup to do, resin wise, things like that. And we have finally outfitted all of our Krieg. We've got over here, you can't off camera, we've got three infantry squads minus their heavy weapons team, 2 command squads minus their heavy weapons team, engineer squad, special weapons squad, another command squad, 3 engineer teams minus the actual mobile launchers and the engineers that go with them, and then you have, if you can make this out, you have 1, 2, and then over here there's a third one, squad, and then there's 3 more up top there. And then off camera to the right is 2 more special weapon squads. Anyway, of all of what we've got here, everybody's outfitted with some sort of weapon. Their backpacks. Comms guys have their antennas, although I do want to put a little bit more glue on there, and that's what I'll be working on as we're talking today, as well as finishing them up with their E-tools or entrenching tools, and I say finishing them up, I'm still waiting on a couple of parts. Their shoulder pads. I've noticed that some Krieg players out there didn't bother with the shoulder pads and whatnot. Each to their own. I paid for it, so I mean, why wouldn't I use it? So anyway, that's what we're working on, and we'll talk a little Warhammer. I thought, other than the little bit of issues that I had last night, with YouTube, and I'm not even sure that it's fixed itself. I mean, we'll see. But what was I gonna say? I listened to the whole thing, and thankfully you guys were able to get my voice, and I thought it was a good conversation about what we were talking about. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go through here while we're BSing here, and add a little bit more glue right at the connection points of these antennas, and make sure that those are solid. I mean, they feel solid anyway, but like this one, the way it was cut and stuff like that, it was kind of a pain. And so also the way that it leans, depending on how everything was. Hopefully I'm not going to snap that off. Hopefully there's enough glue to keep it, spongy. Looks like it. And then I also have to go back in and trim off, because I didn't want to do it ahead of time, because I just didn't think I had enough support to really hold it. Each one of these guns, if you guys can see that little tip right there, hold on, let me get more towards the, alright, focus, man. See that little tip right there? That's got to come off of every gun. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's just a part from, when they cast the models, because if you're going to put a bayonet on it, it's obviously going to go underneath. But that's the other challenge will be, how I would like to do this. My goal here, I'm probably not going to put the bayonets on the end, just because of, I don't know, just because of the fact that it's just one more thing to break off, when you're playing. And but I haven't quite decided, because I know that they would look pretty cool with bayonets on, and we've got quite a few. However, the majority of the E-tools that I'm seeing, the bayonet is affixed to the E-tool and not separate. And where, again, nobody's going to be paying attention to this, but if, other than myself, but one thing I'm going to want to do is, or that I've been doing, is making sure that, for instance, and I'll show you here in just a second, let's see here, let me see who would have one like this guy. Okay, let me grab this guy right here and show you what I'm talking about. So if you take a look, I mean, here we have a plasma gun guy, right? There's no bayonet that's going to go on there, all right? But if you look at his E-tool, there's no bayonet on there either. So all he has is the entrenching tool, no bayonet. And that, and in my mind, I'm trying to make that to where it's, I don't know, aesthetically correct, maybe. Similar to something that I mentioned also before, was I put my e-tools on their backpacks or whatever, not on their hips, except for the comms guy. Well, not that guy, because I haven't gotten to them yet, but the comms guys have one, you know, that's on their hip, but he's not doing a whole lot of running, you know what I mean? These other guys, they are, and it's unrealistic to have that thing just hanging off your hip like that, you know, banging into you and everything else, and thinking you're going to be sprinting across no man's land, you know, in a, you know, World War I type of scenario, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's what we're working with. Got 3 more radio operators here to go through, just to put some extra glue on the connection points. So you guys can see what we're working with. And I could have used plastic, whatever, but I had enough. I was able to make the spare, you know, the brass rod enough. I had enough to make everybody uniform. I also got my 6 chimeras in today. I have not opened them up. It's in a box that I'm unfamiliar with. So we'll check that out here in a minute. I'll just grab them off the shelf. And I also tried to give, even though the radio operators are all squatting down, I tried to give them a little bit of dynamic pose. And it didn't have to be like this, but I wanted them so I could readily identify, you know, who my box operators were. So let's see here. All right, so as far as that's concerned, that's good to go. While we're doing this, give me 1 second. Be right back. Had to do some daddy duties as well, make a bottle. But yeah, so I know chimeras aren't necessarily exciting, but let's see here. Let's see what we got. We got these off of eBay for about, I think about $8 cheaper than it would have cost me in the Games Workshop. And you know, that's another thing too. You know, we're talking about Games Workshop. I mean, my goodness, man. You've got, you know, how many things are online that are no longer available for purchase online? I mean, what the heck's up with that? You know. Just a shout out, because I think this stuff came early. This came from Flipside Gaming on eBay. So I'll be giving them a nice little feedback there. Yeah, these boxes are different than what I'm used to seeing for the Chimera, which makes me wonder if the model is different. It doesn't look like it, but I won't know until I open it up. It looks like the dozer blade, I'll show you guys here in a second. Looks like the dozer blade is different though. That's definitely different than anything I've ever seen. I like it, it's pretty cool. I don't know that I would use it on a Chimera. You know, maybe I'll put it on something else. But yeah, it looks like it comes with the hole mounted here. So you got the hole mounted multi-laser. You've got, I'm sorry, not hole mounted, turret mounted multi-laser. You've got the turret mounted heavy bolter with some kind of targeting device, and then you have a turret mounted heavy flamer. So that's pretty cool. And then hole mounted heavy bolter and hole mounted heavy flamer. And it looks like it's got a Cadian guy, and I don't know who this other guy would be. I don't know who this dude is, but you've got this kind of tank commander guy, and then you've got a Cadian tank commander guy. So just give me 1 second. My attack squig wanted to sit there and chew on a bone while we were talking, so I can't do it. But anyway, we have 6 of these, and I believe I bought 6 of the same. But we've got those 3 from Flipside Gaming. So again, shout out to them. And let's see who this is. And I got them all for the same price. So 2 different suppliers. So pretty stoked about that. And don't try this at home, kids. Watch your knives when you play with them. This is the same box. Looks like the same box for each of them. Yep, same box. And this is from Star City Books. Star City Books in Tennessee. Okay. So thank you very much for that. Just because I want to be fair here, I should have done it. Where did I put it? Here you go. Flipside Gaming. Flipside Gaming. There you go. Anyway, so now back to work. So what we've got basically to do, I think the first thing we should do is we'll knock out excuse me, all of these shoulder pads. They're going to be a little bit of a problem, I think. Well, not a problem, but you know, just it's when you're trying to trim them up, they, you know, you don't have a whole lot to hold on to, so they like to make their way onto the floor. But anyway, that being said, if we've all noticed, you've got Sisters of Battle came out with I guess the Castigator tank or whatever. I've seen it. It's okay. I don't want to say it's unoriginal, because I mean, heck, that you could say that about everything, you know, in 40K. You know, and it is the Imperium sharing STC files and that kind of thing. But let's see here. What we got here. Sorry, I'm working around my camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 50 here. We need some more because we have more dudes than that. If I can get this out of here. And again, all this stuff had to be washed and, you know, whatnot. And hopefully we're going to have enough, because that was one thing I needed replaced from Forge World, is that I was missing an entire thing here. So I know I've got these over here, but I'm not trying to count them at the moment. So let's see here. Alright. Interesting. Well, let's just see how many we actually have to do. We've got, because I put the sergeants are good, the special weapons guys are good, they should be good, yep, all of them are good. Alright, so then basically what it boils down to is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 4, 6, 8, 40, what will be 42. 44, 6, 8, 52, 4, 6, 8, 62, 3, 4, 6, 8. We'll just say 70 total right now. Well, wait a minute. Excuse me, 70. Then, actually, those guys, the heavy weapons teams probably already have their own stuff. Okay, so we'll just say 68, something like that. All right, so what do we got here? We've got 5. We got 100, or I'm sorry, we got 13 here. So 50, 60, 65 plus 4 is 9, or plus 8 is 73. So we should be good, barely. All right, awesome. Also, we have a ton of backpacks left over, just to give you guys an idea. And what I did was, because again, I wanted the most detail as possible on my guys. What I did was I went ahead and I gave them all the backpacks except for the special weapons guys, and the sergeants don't have a backpack. I don't know, I might put one on, but basically everybody's got, you know, this one in particular with the bedroll on the top and stuff. Had an interesting question from somebody, not related to the channel, but he was asking about, you know, what, you know, why are they wearing trench coats and stuff like that? And I said, well, you know, never mind, you know, I mean, you wouldn't think so, but believe it or not, I mean, when you're fighting all the time, you know, or moving all the time, and you're sweating and stuff like that, even in the heat, you can become cold, you know, and you're like, what? That doesn't even make sense. Trust me, it happens, okay? You can definitely become cold, mainly, you know, by being dehydrated and, you know, improper blood flow and stuff like that. But more importantly, you know, I mean, if you think about it in terms of 40K, with the Krieg Death Corps, I mean, let's think about where they, you know, what happened to their planet. Constant, you know, atomic, you know, retaliation and things like that. So naturally, they're probably going to be, it's probably going to be pretty cold there due to, you know, atmospherics blocking the sun, things like that, plus the mud, the rain, you know, things like that. So, you know, the body heat, you know, whatnot that they're going to lose. So it makes a lot of sense. Now, it's not to say that, you know, this wasn't fashioned, you know, the Krieg Death Corps wasn't, you know, fashioned after, say, you know, the Germans in World War I or World War II. I mean, you know, heck, you could probably say that about the Imperium and the way they operate. But, you know, obviously there's no, it's not about any, you know, anything like that. It's just the aesthetics or what have you. And I love it. I love it. And I'm hoping that I can do a lot with their, you know, with their trench coats or whatever, to the point that we're not, what am I trying to say here? It's not just a solid color. There's going to be enough highlight or something like that that really gives it, you know, it really makes it, you know, look nice. It's just not some just gray, brown, or whatever color I choose just on them. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so let's get to this. We're gonna cut all these things off, and hopefully we drop 0 on the floor. The likelihood of that happening is probably very slim. I'm actually gonna let those go because that one looks like it's got to be cleaned up a little bit more than I'm wanting to do at the moment. I just want to, like I said, I mean, you guys can see, if you can see here, just how tiny these things are and trying to hold them. Now, I do have some pliers, my gosh. I do have some tweezers here, but trying to hold those and not break it, you know, it might pose a challenge. So we'll see how that goes. I haven't used them yet, but, you know, it is what it is. And these are very, very thin, which might be the reason that most people don't use them. I don't know why, but I mean, does it really bring a lot to the, you know, the corpsman? I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I think it might. You know, you just don't know. So we got all these little things in the way, and my little Gretchen in there is not happy apparently. So let's see here. That's one thing about children, man. They are definitely completely different. Our little man, he's 17 months. Well, I'm sorry, 18 months. We're going on 18 months. I'll put it that way. He was the quietest infant you've ever seen. It was so much, in fact, that I was worried. I mean, the reason I didn't get any sleep with him was I was so worried about SIDS. I was constantly checking on him all the time, just to make sure he was breathing and stuff like that. Our little girl, not so much. She's every bit an orc, very vocal. And who knows? She might be an orc player. You never know. I can definitely say she was not birthed through fungus. So, but anyway, yeah, she definitely has no qualms about letting you know that she is here, unhappy about something or whatever the case may be. So, but you know, what would a person be without their own individual personalities? All right, there's 5. And again, guys, I saved this stuff. I mean, look at this. You know, if you think about it, this is perfect. It almost looks like rebar and steel or anything like that coming out of something concrete. You know what I mean? And it's perfect for terrain. Throw it in the bag over there. Actually, move this over. Okay. So yeah, this is, excuse me, essentially what we're working on. And the goal here, once I'm done with these guys, is to clear my desk. Thankfully, this army has not provided the amount of trash or cleanup needed to do anything. Now, that being said, I didn't have a dog in here all the time, my tax squig. So there's, you know, not dog hair floating around and plastic and stuff getting mixed together, because I've been so careful with this resin to make sure no dust or debris gets anywhere because of the little, you know, my little kids. You know, my little man likes to come in and strum on the guitar and stuff like that while it's in its stand, and the last thing I want him to do is think it's okay to pick something up and put it in his mouth. So we don't do that here. But excuse me, that being said, I am looking forward to getting this portion of these guys completed, move them away, and then start working on the heavy weapon teams, the Earthshaker carriages. I'm actually really excited about those. They look just so cool. I mean, look at that, man. It's perfect. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, I'll have to scrape the, you know, the words off, or I mean the letters off and stuff, and you know those words. But you could probably just scrape it off or cover it up with something, you know. But yeah, this army's coming together. Yeah, it's been a little long, you know, in a way, kind of like the Tau, but unlike the Tau, I've enjoyed putting this one together, despite all how busy I've been and everything else. The Tau, man, they just really irked me. And I guess you guys, you know, probably, if you haven't heard anyway, I'm sure most of you have, about the chapter approved changes and how the Tau the Tau Riptide battlesuit got a change in points, and I guess it was the only thing that got a change in points, and it was really a change in point, meaning it went from, I guess, what the heck was it, like, I don't know, it was something 61, maybe 261 or 361, I don't remember off the top of my head, to 260, just an even number, and that's it. So there's a lot of, you know, speculation that GW just doesn't care and they just did it, you know, just for their, you know, to make things easier for themselves. Probably. I mean, I'm definitely, you know, not the person that defends GW at every, you know, stretch. I mean, definitely not. Especially the way they've been acting lately. But man, I mean, talk about just a smack in the face for the Tau. I mean, that's just crazy. Sorry, I didn't realize I was cutting off camera here. Oh no, and that's what I worry about all the time. Now you may ask yourself, why don't you just move the models out of the way? Well, because this is how I stay motivated. When I can look at this army here, when I can look at this and go, man, you know, look at the progress I'm making. This is how I stay motivated. I mean, for those of you that are new to the channel, I encourage you to go and check out, you know, my very first video, and you will see the monumental task I have ahead of me. Self-imposed, mind you, but it's still monumental. And for most people, they would probably be like, man, this is ridiculous. But we are steadily making progress. And today I even bought more cable clamps for my Detovs to make more shelves available for these guys. Oops. Now, here's a question. Has there ever been a situation where the Grey Knights in lore would have worked alongside of or with an Imperial Knight? I don't know about that, and I've been curious because I cannot stand the baby carrier thing, and to me, a regular Imperial Knight would look better. Sorry, I keep doing this off camera. A regular Imperial Knight would look better alongside them as a nemesis, you know, whatever. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but then, you know, the baby carrier that it is. And I'm actually kind of happy that what I'm doing is blurry so you guys can, you know, the camera's focusing on the troops and you guys can see that and not be so bored. So maybe there's a plus to that. But regardless, I did want to thank those of you that told me, you know, you like the new setup, you know, or, you know, you can see things this way. So that's good. You know, we'll get better. It's you know, it's a work in progress, and of course, you know, money and all that kind of stuff. But you know, that's got me curious, because if that's the case, I could do a lot modeling wise. I mean, I could always, you know, go counts as. The only difference being, I believe that the Imperial Knight would be considerably larger than the you know, than the baby carrier Dread Knight thing. I could be wrong though. I don't own one, so I don't have a size comparison, but I'm sure I could find something online. Or maybe I model it like it's taking a knee and it's at the height that it's supposed to be or something. I don't know if I really cared about that. I probably won't care. That's just not how I play. So, but how many of you out there have Krieg? That would be do you think that GW is ever going to go to plastic with these guys? I mean, you take a look at Forge World. I mean, everything's, you know, literally like, you know, not available, no longer available, you know. Now I know that there's, you know, some supply issues and things like that, but also I've been listening. I don't know if you guys listen to him or watch his channel, and I encourage you to do so. Wolf Lord Rowe. He did an interesting video on, he's a lore guy, but he did an interesting video on the Emperor's Return, and why it's interesting is, and I agree with him, I would not want to see Warhammer, you know, 40,000 end times, you know, like they did to Warhammer Fantasy. That was just, that really sucked. And it sucked for me because I got in 6th edition, you know, with what little bit I could even play with somebody, and so I didn't get to play much, but I didn't, you know, through my career and stuff, I didn't have time to play 7th and 8th again, I guess it was, and then it went to Age of Sigmar, and I didn't know much about AOS, you know, Age of Sigmar. And so I immediately, you know, kind of, you know, tried to be objective about it and just give it a shot. But man, oh my gosh, man, the rules just, I don't know, it just turned me off so fast, you know. Even though there weren't that many, as with Fantasy, and believe me, today I'd be happier that there aren't. I didn't like the flow for whatever reason. I just didn't. And I definitely didn't like the Stormcast Eternal models, even though I have some because I bought, you know, a box set of AOS because, you know, bulk and all that stuff as far as models are concerned. I think they came with, I'm trying to think who they came with. Either High Elves or something like that. I don't know. I might be wrong. But, yeah, it's just, I'm hoping they don't do that to Warhammer 40K because that would be really disappointing. I feel like the lore in some ways is going off the rails at the moment. Like, we're not really focused on what's supposed to be happening. We're not, I don't know, things just don't seem to make sense in a way. Maybe that's chaos. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. I don't know. But it doesn't. I'll put it this way, there's a lot of books I would like to buy, but it's really turning me off. Not to mention, you know, codexes and things like that. You know, it's just not a good, I don't know. And I see this a lot in comments and stuff. You know, a lot of people don't want to buy the codexes. They don't want to buy something, you know, that's going to be irrelevant in 2 weeks. And, you know, and it seems like that's what's happening. I mean, look at this chapter approved thing. I mean, you know, you're going to buy that chapter approved book for what? You know, you're going to turn around and, you know, literally, sorry, I'm just trying to, so you guys can see what I'm doing here. You know, you're going to literally turn around and buy the codex with the same information in the chapter approved, you know, for the most part. Now, I mean, that's, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, some people are still waiting on a codex, but it's, you know, I think Sisters of Battle, all that stuff in the chapter approved book is, you know, they're getting their codex here, and it'll, you know, the points cost and everything else will have already, you know, changed, or I'm sorry, you know, already been published. So I just don't think it's very genuine on Games Workshop's part. I think that whatever they're, you know, at least from what I've heard, okay, I don't, like, you know, have like an inside source, okay, but from what I have heard is that, you know, the supply chain chain problems that they're having, you know, maybe this is their way of making up shortfalls, you know, whatever, but I don't think it's doing right by, you know, by us. So that's just my take on it. Let's see here. Yeah, these blocks right here, like once I'm done, you know, doing all these, are gonna make perfect, you know, obstacle things for the heavy weapons teams and stuff. I mean, I like sandbags and stuff, which is something that I was looking at doing, but I mean, if you think about how I play, excuse me, and you think about the narrative portion of it, these guys, they're moving too fast to be behind sandbags, if that makes sense. You know, if they were an artillery cannon or something like that, yeah, okay, I get that. You've got time to prep, blah blah blah. But if you're, you know, a team that's moving across the battlefield, you're going to find expedient cover or micro terrain, as we call it. You're not going to be carrying sandbags with you, taking the time to do that. You know, it doesn't. The fight is too kinetic. That's just not going to happen. So, I mean, there's all kinds of ideas about stuff, and I'm thinking about a particular conversation that I had back in the day with a particular officer, and how, you know, I don't want to put him down, but how the idea he had at the time was, it was inspired, I'll give it that, but it was not realistic in any way, shape, or form. And the idea was that if we were firm in a building, you know, not a prepared position or anything like that, we're moving, that we could use chicken wire to seal up the holes in the side of the walls or anything like that to keep grenades from coming in. Well, I'm not saying that that wouldn't work. I mean, if you take a look at, what the Israelis and the British had to do, specifically the British, against the IRA and stuff like that, putting cages and things like that around their vehicles and whatnot, to keep things from being able to stick or get caught. That way they would bounce off, whether it be bottles, grenades, explosives, whatever. The same thing applies here, but it would cause a grenade to to bounce off, whatever. But unless the guy, I'm going to tell you right now, unless you've got an all-star baseball player out there that's willing and able to get through a massed amount of infantry fire to get it inside that hole, unless it I mean, if the hole is big enough, he doesn't have to worry about that. It's too big a hole, and you shouldn't be near it to begin with. But it's not exactly providing you any cover whatsoever, or you're going to be covering that with some type of heavier weaponry or at least more bodies. But it doesn't really serve the purpose. Now, if you have civilians walking around you all the time, and the combat is not necessarily kinetic all the time, and it's you just happen to be in there, then that's a different story, because nobody's going to be able to sit there 24 hours a day with their weapons trained on that hole, or whatever. You're going to have a multitude of other priorities of tasks, if you will, or priority and tasks to have to deal with, and it's just not feasible. Plus, I mean, who's going to be carrying all this chicken wire throughout the constant fighting house to house? You know what I mean? It's just not possible. It's too much going on. You got chow, you got water, you got batteries, radios, ammo. Last thing you want to be doing is carrying chicken wire, when you could just as easily find something, to prop up against that wall or whatever, in the building that you just went in. That's one thing about training. I don't even know how I ended up on this subject, but that's one thing about training is a lot of the as we call them, mission-oriented urban terrain mount training facilities. There's almost nothing in the buildings, couches, things like that, unless you've got some pretty awesome leadership, like I was, and you go out of your way to get that stuff in there, and that way people have to deal with things being in the room, and I mean, hell, even a couch, it'd be a lot easier than carrying around chicken wire and trying to figure out how you're gonna attach it to a concrete wall, when you can just take the couch and lean it up against the hole. You know what I mean? But common sense is not common, and that's just how it is. But hopefully I'm not boring you guys with my perspective on this stuff. But these are all the things that in my hobby that I think about, and for me, I don't want to be like I am in a movie where I'm going, well, that wouldn't happen. That doesn't happen. That explosion isn't like that. Throw a grenade and you kill 5,000 people. It doesn't work like that. I don't know. Maybe in the 41st millennium it's possible. You're throwing an exterminatus grenade, the holy hand grenade. But from Monty Python. But yeah, we're like I said, we're getting through this, man. I mean, this is actually the bulk of the infantry, 80 total, not including command squads. And wait a minute, let me think about that. 60. Okay, not including command squads. We have 80 total that encompasses the special weapons teams. Okay, we got a little more than 80, I'm sorry, and the engineer squads. So we do have heavy mortar teams we got to put together. We've got las cannons, auto cannons, heavy bolters, you know, that all have to be put together. Well, they really got to be washed first. But my next goal, like I said, is to work on those heavy weapon teams and the Earthshaker cannons, which are actually being washed as we speak. So that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Come on. Fit in there. Get in there. It's your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me. Suck my hard ass ball. If you don't like Happy Gilmore, I don't know, man. You're not living. Man, I don't even know how many times I watched that movie. Let's see here. Come on. Like I said, I probably look like I'm trimming my fingernails right now. This stuff is so small. So, I mean, it probably looks like fingernail shavings, as a matter of fact. It's crazy. Oh, and that's exactly what I did not want to have happen. And I saw one at least that hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Bodies hit the floor. Bodies hit the floor. Or did it end up in my chair? Could we get that lucky? Don't know. Don't know. From my favorite movie reviewer, Critical Drinker. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got that lucky. It landed in the chair. How about that? Outstanding. And we're on our last two here with clipping. So that's good. And again, like I said, I've seen people, they don't even bother with these. At least they didn't have them on in the battle reports, but like I said, I paid for it. I think it'll help break up some of the outline depending on how I do it. I mean the color, the drab color, put it that way. Okay, last one. Hopefully we didn't lose any more. I don't think I did, but you never know. This is the one that needs all kinds of cleanup too. That's why I wanted to wait till the end. And it's the little things like that, you know. You do what you got to do to get yourself through the project. Now, one thing of note, so you guys, if you ever get Krieg, I don't want you to make the mistake I did. I did not see. I guess I just didn't see it. But if you take a look at these E-tools, let me show you what I'm talking about here. If you take a look at the E-tool, right here, right where my point is the handle. See where it's a T? Well, there were a couple that I didn't realize that when I first got started because I got so excited and I cut them off just above the T. Now, that's not to say that it's wrong, because, I mean, if you take a look at the E-tools, that they had, for instance, in World War II, there were no handles on the end. It was just a straight, straight stick. But I'm hoping that I have enough E-tools to go back and fix that. So, I don't know. But I wish I'd have noticed that ahead of time. one. Try to clean this thing up if we can. Might have cut a little off of that one. I don't know. I can't tell, but that's all right. And then what we're gonna do to make sure that we don't screw this up, put it all in a Tupperware thing. There we go. Now, barring me knocking it off the desk, we should be good to go for that. And then all we're gonna be doing is gluing them on and then moving to the e-tools. So with all of that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this update. And if you like what you see and want to support the channel, Patreon link below. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Am I going to get it? And we will see you next time. Take care.